right, you got me all hopped up on swimming now.
One little swim tidbit before we get going, and I primed you for it won't be a How to Not Suck at Swimming podcast. It is April 2nd, the year. It's still 2020 for everybody. Welcome aboard. Listen to the Crushing Iron podcast, and this is episode 759.
Yeah, and you got me wanting to practice my dolphin kick, man.
Dude, no kidding. I mean, we were just talking briefly about the insanity, which has been the NCAA Division I swimming champs, and Leon Marchand swam a 4:02 for the 500 free. 4:02, folks. For those of you that struggle with your math, 4:02 for a 500. He simply averaged 48.5 per 100 for 5 100s in a row with no rest.
Yeah,
which is just insane.
And if you want to do that, our How to Not Suck at Swimming podcasts are all just sitting out there for you.
Right.
Would that be unbelievable if he came out and said, "Yeah, I was listening to the Crushing Iron podcast, and just something really clicked."
Yep, it all came to me, and here I am. Yeah, we'd get all of, I don't know, 3 email inquiries from that. I mean, not very many people watch the NCAA swimming championships, especially when they're going on during like March Madness. I mean, it's insane. But yeah, it's just unbelievable what people can do in the water now. And you look at like, triathletes and what we can swim or let me rephrase, what we cannot swim. And legit, I'd venture to say more than 50% of triathletes average slower than 48 seconds per 50.
Oh, yeah. I was just trying to formulate like how many times.
No. Let me rephrase. 70% of most triathletes average slower than 48 seconds per 50, because a 50-second 50 is a 140. No way. It's probably 80. Hell, could be 90. But it's unbelievable. Yes, it's short course yards, not meters, and yes, they can dolphin kick, but it's unreal. That's the level that someone can hold for 5 100s in a row. And but he's swimming underwater. He's not taking strokes. He's holding his breath. So if you take like the amount, we're not going to get distracted. If you look at the amount of swimming 500 yards, the amount of kicking that he did, he was able to maintain that pace, right? And yes, he's faster when you streamline up to it until you start to slow down. He held his breath. Totally held it for half of it. Held his breath for 250 yards of the 500, where he averaged 48 fives.
Yeah.
So don't come to me with the, I can't get faster in swimming. Don't come to me with breathing is hard, and definitely don't come to me with I think I've reached my peak. I mean, it's just one of those. It's one of those things you see. And you can't, like you said, you're trying to do the math and you're like, what the fuck? I can't even my mind doesn't even go there. That's how disconnected I am from that, being able to have that kind of inability, which is frankly is a lot like what I feel like. And I think most triathletes feel like when they watch like these professionals that are dropping 7:30 Ironman race. You're like, dude, I'm not even off the bike yet. Yeah. And they've already crushed them there. It really is just like, it's both just unbelievable to wrap your mind around, but it's also, I think, hopefully it should give you a lot of optimism and they're just another dude. They're just another girl. That's it. They're just another human being, just like we are, born on the same planet, access to all the same things. And yeah, you can go like genetics. And genetics, whenever I hear someone blame genetics, I just think it's like one of the worst excuses you can possibly use. Yes. Am I ever going to be the center for an NBA basketball team? Negative. No way. So yeah, everybody has like a little bit of a genetic predisposition to do something or not something. But for the most part, it comes down to hard work, because we all know these athletes and these people, whether it's academic or athletic, like pretty much every human being, are woeful underachievers. Take the human brain. Like, we don't even apply. Anyway, I'm not going to get on a riff. I'm not going to go on a tangent. It's just mind blowing to me how we continue to think that we've reached the peak of human performance, and we're still not even close. And that's the fun thing, right? With ourselves as individuals, we have no idea what our end ability is. It's just the ability to, we're held down and trapped by lack of imagination, lack of creativity, lack of belief, lack of commitment, lack of motivation, lack of consistency. Other than that, we're all pretty much the same.
I wonder if that guy had a Neuralink thing in there, that Elon Musk thing. Like if he's one of the first AI humans. But seriously, like I was just trying to figure out how many times he would lap me in a 25-yard pool.
A lot.
Yeah, it would be. Talk about.
So
you worried about water aerobics, man? Imagine swimming in the lane with that guy.
No kidding. So he'd be done with the 500. So I'll do quick math, kind of know what you swim. He'd be done with the 500, and you would be finishing up probably 250.
Yeah.
So he'd be out of the water.
If I was in good shape.
Already in the if you were in some shape, already in the locker room, probably already doing his first round of de-cleansing his body from chlorine. If chlorine even sets in after 4 minutes.
Right. He must not even be in the water. Well, I guess he's underwater, so it's like
it's fat. It's just
he definitely wouldn't have waited at the lane for me to high five.
No. He definitely wouldn't have done that.
What's he swim in a 500 straight out in the open water?
Way under 5.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's great. It's always interesting to watch people go back and forth and what they feel open distance. I would love to see at some point like them do try to get it the fastest Ironman relay and get the best open water swimmer, the best, one of the best Tour de France Grand Tour riders do 112 miles, and then the best marathon on the planet, and see what time they could click off. It'd be close to 6:30.
You think?
I think 6:30 to 6:45 range, which is insane. It's just, the human body is unreal. And our listeners, you're also unreal. It's your first time tuning in today. Welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. In terms of your vows, we appreciate you again today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open and honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. Mike and I also talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. He and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level athletes in the very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to world championships, and everyone in between from all over the globe. We'll use the feedback loop we have with them and Trinity Peaks emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion today. We also like to utilize our Facebook group. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. Answer multiple questions and let you right in. Awesome community, fantastic resource, and a great place to get just actionable information from seasoned veterans. So we don't do sponsors in there. Or excuse me, we don't do. We go in there about once a month and do a bit of Q&A, take the pulse of the community, and go through those live on the podcast. But we don't do sponsors. We don't do ads. But we do have an agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah, and we're going to eventually get into, maybe what motivated him on some level. But I do want to ask a quick question. I know we've talked about this maybe, but if you mentioned that relay, and that just brought me back to okay, you pick the top 3 or whatever. Who are you going to pick to do your Ironman alone to win?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Alone?
Yeah, if they have to do all 3, you're going to take the swimmer, the biker, the runner, the ultimate, question in the sport and why it began, right?
If I was going to pick anyone, and everyone was healthy, I'd pick Gustav Iden.
No. I meant if you pick the best swimmer, best cyclist, best runner in the world, and you had 1 year to train for an Ironman, who would you take?
Yeah. I don't know. Would I take the relay over the person?
No, would you take the swimmer, the cyclist, or the runner?
Oh, I'd take the fucking swimmer all day.
Really?
Yeah.
To win the Ironman?
Oh, no. Oh, you mean like as individuals?
Yes.
Yeah, probably still. Yeah.
Really?
I don't see any of like the best open marathoners being able to swim or shit. They might make it out of the water.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they're all 120 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. So you're just going to say wire to wire.
Yeah, I think I would take the swimmer. Because what they've got is what I think is the hardest part of the race from a technical standpoint. They've got that part down. They've got the technical. They'll come out of the water 20 minutes ahead, and they'll come out fresh. And they've got this giant engine from 20 years of, constant aerobic work. They're going to be injury free. The biggest thing, and so they've got a huge aerobic engine. So really, you just put them on the bike, you hammer out the intensity. Anybody can ride a bike, check. Running will be the hard part, right? Because they're not going to have like nearly the bone density and strength and plasticity in their ligaments and tendons and stuff like that a runner will have. But they're going to get there a lot more fresh than a runner would. Can you imagine like putting, like, you look at like the starting lineup for like the open marathon and you see the guys going out there. Can you imagine dropping them in the ocean for 2.4? They'd be hanging on to a life raft in about 200 meters.
Yeah, it'd be tricky.
They wouldn't go anywhere. And then they couldn't even use their strength. They'd be so shelled by the time they got there, they couldn't even run their speed. So yeah, I take the swimmer. I'd take swimmer, then cyclist, then runner. Because again, cyclists too, like they got these giant engines, and some of them run. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with the swimmers. I'm gonna stay. Maybe that's being a homer, but I'm gonna go with the swimmer.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the cyclist.
Yeah, that's on the back.
Because they can run. They can run.
I know.
Especially those Tour de France cats.
Oh, I think we even referenced this last year. I mean,
4-hour ride. That's you got to give them something on that.
Oh, yeah, and they do that on the daily. So yeah, that's another good one. I mean, I think we even mentioned this. I think maybe last year, the year before, one of the Tour de France guys like went out and like blasted off a 5K in like the 16s. He hadn't even run in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a pretty good bet.
And then I mean, of course he was a swimmer. I was going to say Lance Armstrong, but he was a swimmer.
He was a triathlete before he was a Grand Tour cyclist.
To me, that's the biggest shame ever that we didn't get to see him perform in Ironman. I mean, honest to God. I mean, whatever. You can say whatever we want about his history or whatever, but a lot of guys went through that. But can you imagine what that would have done to the sport? It would have just blown up.
Oh, it would. I think that's probably
was the dumbest thing they ever did.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest. I mean, I think most listeners to this podcast probably don't even remember that, but because I remember tuning in and tracking him on when he did Florida 70.3. And I think a lot of people don't realize he started in triathlon at such a young age and was a pro. And I think that's, while I get the just part of what they decided to do, I think that looking back on it, if they could have projected like how easily, this isn't true of everyone, but how easily people can tend to just forget and move on from things, people who do things like that. I mean, Mike Tyson, people love Mike Tyson, and he went to prison for raping a woman, so it's insane how quickly, like, some people can just like be cast off for life and some people can be forgiven. So, but I think that, I think if looking back, I think they would have gone about it differently, because I totally agree. I think the sport would have just exploded. Then it won't be the same as when Chocolate Milk gave a free Kona entry to Heinz Ward or Apollo Ono.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I guess obviously Adam Silva wasn't running Ironman at the time because he's all about personal brands and more than the game. So, I mean, I never quite understood that. Give him a penalty, whatever, but you're going to just say you can't race anymore. That's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it's a fascinating. Fascinating. Anyway.
But he probably had some axes to grind. Speaking of our topic.
Seriously. Speaking of topics. I mean, our topic for today is not a little bit. It is mostly coming from watching the teams in NCAA tournament and how the mentality and motivation and kind of mental resilience can translate into not just a triathlon life, but a regular life. But yeah, I watched my Vols have every chance in the world to to win against Purdue and failed. It was a hard watch. I did hear though that someone sneezed in North Carolina, and that's what generated one of the foul calls on Edie.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to watch that as a neutral for as much as I could, and yeah, that's it. The game is just so much different with that big guy in there, man. There's a lot more contact in general, and I don't know. Like, you got to play him physical and
got to. I mean, there's no way.
Listen,
we didn't lose because of foul calls. We lost because no one else but Dalton Connect can make a shot.
Yeah,
chances with 3 or 4 minutes left with a tie ball game or Dumbo. We had 3 possessions where he could have gone up, and we bricked. So it was all on us. We had every chance to win. So,
that game was a kind of like I said to you, it was a grinder, and I felt like, speaking of our topic, because I wanted to come into this topic with this concept of playing or racing like you have nothing to lose. And I felt like actually both those teams were kind of a little clunky, and it was just a grimy game, but I felt like both those teams had a lot to lose, and I could almost feel it a little bit, because it's like Purdue got beat in the first round as a 1 seed last year, and they haven't been to the Final Four in 20-some years, and and Tennessee I don't think has ever been there. So I just, Rick Barnes can't get out of this. I felt like there's probably a lot of pressure on those teams, and at least I sort of felt it a little bit, because the shooting was off, and it was just a mucky game, and they just had to figure out a way to win.
And which is a perfect segue to our topic, and we talk about this a lot. We talk about trainers, we talk about gamers. We talk about, people going into races, perfectly trained, totally healthy, no illnesses, training, progression, and they've nailed every block, and they go into a race and just totally lay an egg, and then, then you have athletes that really have no business probably even being on the start line, and they, are undertrained. They haven't done, certain, the long ride, the long run. They haven't swam that much, and all of a sudden they go out and they pull off like a PR, or they beat, the trainer Tim by like an hour on an Ironman. And it goes back, and we reference, I think, in NCAA tournament a lot, even the course of the year, just how going into games with nothing to lose, like those are the most dangerous teams. Like that's the person you don't want to play. And so it's often also referenced, like, back in the day, like if you went out to the bar, the last guy you wanted to fight was the short dude. Because they're usually the scrappiest and the most aggressive and like ready to rumble. It's not like the tall big dude. They're usually like the teddy bears. But it's fascinating to like look through that and how you, again, like going into race season, you got Oceanside 70.3, Texas 70.3. I'm doing Texas in a few weeks, and that's even something that I've been trying to work myself with on my mental. I've been focusing on, training, and I know my training isn't going to be what I would like it to have been, but the mental game is where you can really make the biggest difference. Because I do believe you can do anything one time. That was like one of the first conversations you and I ever had about the sport, about, doing distances, and do we need to run a full marathon? Do you need to run this? Like, no, you only got to do it once. You got to get your mind, you got to get your body and your mind in a place to where it can do it one time. That's it. Just once. And I do. It's like, I think we probably as coaches, we don't spend enough time talking about, preparing yourself mentally. There's mental. I was watching. I don't remember what game it was. They talked about certain players go through like mental strength training each week. Like they have like a mental strength coach on how to rise to the occasion, how to not crumble under the pressure, how to feel like, even like UConn, like you said before, how to be like the reigning champ and still walk on the floor, whether it's perceived or real, like you're being disrespected or you don't have a shot to win, or you've got to be perfect in order to win. When they could probably play their worst basketball and still probably win right now. And we mentioned before we went live is like, the professional athletes who walk on, like, that's why to me it's so fascinating to talk to and listen to interviews with the best of the best, like Kobe. That's why I loved him so much, because he never seemed satisfied. Whatever, to be a back-to-back champ, or to be to continuously like raise your level of game to a whole different level. I think you have to always find a different spin for every race. Like you have athletes that are going into races that they might not feel prepared for. You get athletes going into a race where they do feel prepared for. You get athletes going into a race where they've raced the race before, so they have an expectation of how they're going to perform, and they PR'd it the last time. So now what's the expectation? Or they go into a race where they DNF the previous time, and that's hanging around. I think success and failure can always follow us around if we let it. And I think oftentimes we let it hang with us way too long. And I think one of the very first podcasts we ever did, very first guest I think we ever had on was Steve Magnus. He always talked about the 24-hour rule. Have a great race, get 24 hours to celebrate, 24 hours to sulk if it was a bad one, and then after that we're moving on. And I think as humans, and as especially in sports, I think we tend to carry with us either the success and the pressure of that to meet and rise to that, or exceed that the next time. We carry that way too much, and it can weigh us down, right? The more you carry, the heavier you are. And then we also, in the same breath, carry with us the negatives. And I'll be totally honest with you, that's been a mental battle that I've been trying to figure out. My last Ironman had not gone great. And my last, more out of my last races than not haven't gone that well. And so I'm trying to get to the point of when I get to the start line in Texas, knowing that I'm not going to be fully trained, is like finding a way to totally let that go, and let that person go, and let those races go, and understand and realize, kind of what, you said right before we went live about, always preparing for the future, is that you can't live in the past. You can't use this to dictate your future. It just is what it is right now. And how can I get the best out of myself in Texas on that day, given my fitness? And I know for me, it is being there from the chin up. And if I'm not there from the chin up, I will not do well. That's a fact. I just won't do well. It's something I've actually, and I've mentioned before, always admired about you and how you race, is that you're an athlete that I'll never have to worry about. You just always got it from the chin up. You're always there. You're always game ready. Body might not be full fitness, but game ready is you got it. And so going into Texas for me, it's like looking back on my last, Ironman DNF. Haven't done one in almost 8 years. Haven't raced a lot. I'm not going to be fully trained. How can I get myself in a headspace to where I can make this a success? And how do I measure that success leading up to it, right? Is it reaching a certain number of rides and runs and swims? Is it knocking out a certain distance or a certain duration? But I know for me, it's I'm always at my most lethal when I have it from the chin up. And it doesn't matter fitness wise. My best race and my best performance have always been when I've felt lethal from the chin up. And if I don't have that, then it doesn't matter what kind of weapon I've created fitness wise. If I'm not there in lethal from the chin up, then I really have nothing for that race day.
A long time ago, when I used to blog a lot more, I remember writing I think it was about around the time I did my first Ironman, and what that felt like to go into the water with a lot of doubt. Because if you've never been there, you just have to have doubt. I mean, it's I guess a positive thing that you're not overconfident or whatever. But I called it walking the plank. And really what that boiled down to me now in retrospect is when you do something, when you walk the plank, it's like a certain, if you really think about what that was, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, it's like, all right, we're middle of the ocean. There you go. Walk out there and just, you're gone or whatever. So it's like, you really have to be in whatever it means to you. But the most important thing is just to have faith. And I feel like I have always, in my training, I look for signs and situations. And like you said, I mean, depending on my fitness, and it's always, a little bit different going into every race, but I always know, and another great reference you've always made with my training is this in the ballpark thing. I always know when I'm in the ballpark, and like I know going into a race that that's where I need to be, and I can flip my brain somehow into that space of faith, or just knowing what I have to do to, for lack of a better reference, the Tennessee Purdue game, the grinder effect. Sometimes it comes down to grinding. Sometimes it comes down to feeling better than I thought and going out and feeling it. It's like sometimes you got to roll with that feeling too. But I always like experiment with that no matter what kind of shape I'm in, because when you've been through a lot of these and you've done a lot, you kind of have something on your side. You always talk about racing smart. And that's why, a lot of times I will go into these races a little undertrained for sure, but I at least know what I'm getting into, and I've been there, so you can't underplay that really, because if you've been there, you have an advantage. But I think a lot of people don't use that advantage because they are not real with themselves, and they try to be somebody they're not. And this goes back to Bukowski's don't try to be somebody you're not, and just be somebody that's going to be that, that guy in the bar that just knows that they're just not going to give up. You know what I mean? So how do you get there? And how do you spin your head in this place where I'm going to go out there? I think about it all the time with you and I, because, just by nature of being on this podcast and having, dozens of people listening every week, that we know that, maybe we're going to be under the spotlight a little bit more. And I always think about that, when we're racing, and we know probably people are going to be watching a little bit. So there's going to be that. But at some point you just got to be like, I don't care, man. I have to run my own race. I have to do my own thing. And you have to find your own, we talked about it earlier. It's like, like Goggins talks about how he creates fake enemies for himself. Like he's going to go back and get at them. And while I don't, it's like everything else, Goggins to me is really an inspiration. I know I can't be that guy. You mentioned Kobe earlier, and my guy's Jordan. Like these guys are insane, like in not a bad way, but I mean, not many people can even come close to wanting to win and do things like these people. There's a hand. I mean, to be the greatest. Whether, Michael Phelps, I mean, the work you have to put in and the sacrifices you have to make, most people aren't willing to do that. But still, you can pull nuggets from that, right? Once a year or whatever, I'll race an Ironman, and sometimes I start thinking about a nemesis I used to have, and I'm going to show them, at least if it gets you, gets your blood flowing. I don't think it's good to have an obsession like that, but if you can kind of like, energy comes out in different ways, right? So like if your energy is all bottled up, you have to figure out how to get it out. And sometimes it takes a trick like that for me, how am I going to get fired up to go work out today? Well, think of something that might get you juiced up, and it might not even be real, but it's something that can kind of push you through or get you moving. And then once that happens, then things are different, right? So it's sort of like, that 2 years ago when I did Wisconsin, I told you I was standing in the mud that morning, and it was raining, and we knew it was going to rain all day, and it was 55 degrees, and it was just a shitty day. The last thing I wanted to do was start that race, but somehow I flipped it into this, like, I'm just going to be proud of this day no matter what happens, and I'm going to get through it, and that's going to be the win. I don't care about the time as much because it's just going to not happen. It's a weird feeling when standing in a line that you're not going to have a fast day. It's just like, but you still got to do it. So how are you going to get there mentally? And I think that so many people, we can all do these things, and for me, it's a lot about repurposing anxiety or something like that. it is an energy. Anxiety is not a bad thing if you can channel it in the right direction. So that's my thought on this. You got nothing to lose when you go out there except, I guess giving up. That's what you don't want. I mean, like I said, we have said it many times. Nobody really cares about your time. You got to go out and do the best you can. And once you kind of set that mindset for yourself and are comfortable with it, then the race day becomes a lot more enjoyable and you'll probably perform better.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot there that I know that I've either thought about or I'm trying to take with me. I think a lot of athletes can resonate with, especially, triathlon or hobbyist careers can last, 10, 15, 20 years. So we've always got something to compare to. We've always got the same race we do, the same everything. We always know and can compare. And then, but we oftentimes forget, we're always older or our life is there. My life is so different now than what it was back when I had my fastest Ironman. And I even recognize, in order to even beat my fastest Ironman ever in this race, I'd have to have the absolute best day, best executed. And if I'm being totally honest, the weather's going to have to be a little bit friendly. But two of the things that I've tried to use for myself and motivation is trying to use my old self as kind of my current nemesis. And how I, because my fastest Ironman time ever, it's yes, by a few minutes, but was, Ironman Arizona. I went into that race having nothing to lose, with nothing to care about. No one looking at me. No one knew about me. Not that anyone knows about me now, but, very, very different life than I had now. And I was still drinking. I got drunk the night before and just kind of went out there and kind of exercised demons, had really, really good day. And that's always kind of gnawed at me. And so I when I'm training, sometimes I'll find myself going back and think, I did it sometime, some at the lab yesterday when I was out there, is I kind of go back and think of my older self as my nemesis of, and kind of bring up those fake, you're the old, drinking version of you is pretty convinced that the sober of you can't do this. You don't have what it takes in the mental department because you don't have the same demons. On the flip side, I'm like, thank God I don't, But then I also, another spin that I'm also trying to really appreciate about this journey, regardless of what my time is. And I think a lot of athletes can probably resonate with this is, I haven't raced a full Ironman since, we did ours in Wisconsin. And it hasn't been for the lack of signing up for them. And because I love the distance, I love what it means. I love crossing the finish line. I love feeling good about myself. I love that stuff. I'm not a Mike Riley guy, and I could care less who announced the name. But there's a feeling you get when you finish, and I miss that. But a lot of what I failed on in the last, since then, since Hayden was 7 weeks, old, and is I've not made the conscious choice and effort to make the time. And yes, it's been challenging? Sure. You know how it is when you're a coach and you're running a business and you're moving and doing stuff. It's hard to do that. At least for me, it's felt really hard, and I've always haven't taken that time. And so what I found myself trying to, appreciate further when I've kind of had these thoughts and feelings of running from the moment or I'm not going to be prepared for is also tell myself, hey, you've also never been this deep into training for a full in 7 years and not decided to just scrap it and move on to the next one. There's always an excuse. Life's too busy. I got too many responsibilities, all these things. But I've also tried to, I've also gained a lot of confidence and not self-respect, but I think I've been very pleased at the effort I've made to get the time in that I have. Is it the time that I wish I could put in? No. Is it the time that I used to be able to put in before we had Hayden and before he got to a point to where, we can go do stuff and play basketball and travel hockey? Totally different life. But I do know that now I'm making choices to get things done and so I'm taking confidence in that. But also, I guess maybe not confidence, but it's definitely shifting my mindset and going into the race from a PR would be like a AAA option for that day. Everything would have to go right. Nail my nutrition, temps in the 70s, no wind, and just feel it to have that kind of a day. Anything outside, but to me, the goal and where I know that I will feel a sense of not relief, but a sense of proud and checking a box will be getting off the bike. Not as in like making the cutoff, but as in, because once you get off the bike, you're pretty much going to finish. You can walk the whole thing and finish. You could have GI issues and finish. And I just haven't done one and finished one in a while. And so that, when you come to like, rating different levels of being proud of a race I'm also using that, right? I don't do a lot of racing anymore. So I'm also getting excited to be cheered on. As a coach, we do the cheering, pretty much all the time, 24/7, every single week of the year. There's somebody to cheer on, there's somebody to follow, somebody to tell a good job to. And I'm trying to shift that from feeling pressure as a coach to feeling a lot of fulfillment and excitement and anticipation over being the one out there and not having that, even though I'll be, asking for people's splits and stuff, because that's just how we roll. But is being able to be a part of it. And so I think like, now will that unlock, my best ability of the day? I don't know. I think it gives me the best shot. Because when I go back to what you were saying a minute ago, I immediately thought of Louisville when you and I did it my first year out of treatment. Mm-hmm. Zero expectations. Zero. I was just happy to be there. I was happy to make the start line. I was proud of myself for who I was in the moment. And then I also knew with the heat that like you said about Wisconsin years ago, as long as I finished, I'd be pretty fucking proud of myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was so hot that day. And I just remember thinking, like, as soon as I got in the water, you and I stood there for the national anthem. I got a little teary-eyed, jump in the water. And I remember just feeling like, man, I'm just so happy to be able to do this today. And I ended up having, I think, up until Wisconsin, my best overall placement of any race I've ever done in a full. I think I cracked the top 100 for the first time ever. And none of it was time-based. It was just, this is who you are, execute the day. It's not going to be, it's not going to feel good. And then it was just a whole lot of gratitude and appreciation for having made it through the process. And that, I think, allowed me to unlock, some pretty good ability that day. And so again, like, there's a lot of different ways, I think, if we put the effort into it and we don't just go by metrics and data in previous time and, tri-calc and what we think we can do. I think I talked about this, I've been doing that. And then I have just totally stopped. Mm-hmm. And all I've really tried to focus on is just getting in the volume that I can, knowing that I got a short taper and going out there having fun. It's a course I've always wanted to do. I'll be able to do it with friends, people that, I care about and love are going to be there. And I don't get that much anymore. And so to me, that's my current, and this might change in like 2 weeks, but I think that, to me, that's where I'm currently finding confidence and fulfillment in that process. And I think, again, like, the more you can use different levels and different, because some days it's just, I'll put on a song that's just like fires me up. Mm-hmm. It's all about proving people, and the next day it's all about, love and appreciation. It's like, it's, bipolar attitude, and nemesis when you're training. But for everyone, especially the longer races and the more demanding it is, I think you've got to find, even when you sign up for a race and you can find, and you think you're going to be this, and you think this is the best route to take when you need internal and external motivation, eventually I think it kind of, filters out to the one that makes the most sense. And currently that's where I'm feeling that is kind of going back between, and to me, proving my old self wrong isn't about beating the time. It's more about getting it done. And to me right now, that's the most important thing.
That's an interesting point, I think, about the sort of the ebbs and flows of emotions. I think they're both necessary. I think, you got a long day out there at Ironman. You have to be grateful and appreciative of the ability to do it, but there's going to be times when you got to turn on that metal music in your head and sort of grind through. That's the thing, man, is you gotta, you almost got to be flexible out there, because there's going to be certain moments when you just, it's going to be hard to be grateful. You know, you just have to be digging deep and figuring out a way. I was thinking about, you know, when I was growing up, we used to play in high school. There was a team up the road in Janesville, for all you Wisconsin people, that had a really great baseball legacy. And I was talking to some friends about it the other day, and I realized that we were intimidated by them, you know, and this comes back to that nothing to lose. It's sort of like once you get up to a certain level, then you're on the same level and you're competitive, but for some reason, it's sort of like, I don't know. I think it's kind of why teams like Duke and, you know, even though they haven't been the greatest for a while, but like they have something on their legacy. You know what I mean? It's sort of like we're playing Duke, you know, there's something there. So it took me, they used to beat us all the way through high school. And then I finally got into college and whatever. It wasn't like I was playing them anymore, but I finally figured out that you can't be intimidated by your opponent. And sometimes the race can do that to you. And I think that's just sort of a belief system that has to kind of shift in you. Now, we mentioned Kobe and Michael, and over the last, I would say, maybe year, slowly but surely, I've been picking up more and more interviews with Allen Iverson, and I just love that dude. He's like my man now. Like, I don't know if anybody even really remembers how good he was, but he was ranked in the high school the top basketball and football prospect in the country. And he had some problems. He ended up only getting a scholarship to Georgetown or whatever. So, but the way he talks about things is just incredible. Like he was saying, you remember that whole thing about practice? Remember that Allen Iverson practice? It's just practice.
Oh yeah. I used to hate him because I used to be a Lakers fan before NBA basketball turned to trash, but when they won game one of the finals, when he had this like ultimate step over move of Tyronn Lue, just drained it. Yep.
Oh yeah, he talked about that the other day too, and like, but he'll be saying like, I love Tyronn. He's a great guy and, you know, great player, and it's just something that happened in the moment. But he said, he was talking about that practice incident. I just tell this story quick, but he said what people don't realize is that I had played the last two nights, you know, like today's NBA players play about 70% of the games, or so, you know, they're taking games off all the time. He goes, I played the last two nights, and one was an overtime game. I played every minute in the overtime game, and I played every minute of the other game, 2 nights in a row, and gave my all. And the next morning we had practice, and people were giving me shit because I wasn't going hard. You know, that was what like stemmed the whole story. And I thought that was interesting. But when he said, he was talking about opponents and how he would, like, nothing scared him because of his where he grew up and he had been through it. He goes, basketball always to me was an outlet, and I just enjoyed playing and loved it. And he said when they would get around the circle for the jump ball, at some point he would look over at the person he was going to be guarding or who was guarding him, and he'd look in his eyes. And he said, I knew him. If they looked away, he said, I had him. And I just love those like little situations like that where you can kind of build that internal confidence and everything. And it's just, I don't know, there's just something powerful about that to me, like having that inside of you. And he was just one of those guys that was super confident about playing ball. Like it was just playing ball and having fun. And I think that we can use that lesson going out and just really loving getting out on that course, you know, and knowing you can do it and having fun with it, because you just release yourself a little bit more and you're not tense, and you're definitely not playing with, you're not playing with anything to lose. So that's part of it. And you said something in there about, I forgot what it was, but it reminded me of how a lot of us can probably, like, over the years, I've kind of come in more terms with being happy with, like the body of work. instead of individual performances, but feeling very good. I think it was that, that rainy day in Wisconsin, but that's kind of the example. Is like, man, I was really just kind of proud of finishing that day. And then I start looking back, I'm like, hey man, I've done a lot of races and I've done a lot of cool things, and it's been an awesome experience, instead of like getting hyped up on, maybe one bad day or something like that, but that's the thing is, you hear from a lot of these athletes that they don't remember the wins as much, but they remember the losses. And I just think it's kind of part of it too, but you have to be able to step back and look at everything that you've done and feel good about it, including training, because like, who does what we do, and certain days, you're training 7 days a week a lot of times, and one day you can't work out because you're tired or something happened and you feel bad about it. Just look around. Nobody else is doing this shit. I mean, really, not many people. And you're worried about a day off. I don't know. Think about everything you've been doing for yourself, and I guess feel good about it in the big picture.
You said you're talking about Allen Iverson, and when he said he could look at an opponent in their eyes, and they looked away, he knew they had them. I think that's a battle that we all go through in training every day, and at a race, before the race, during the race. Like, you want to get off the bike and you make yourself go 10 more minutes. Or that's you looking that other person, that other version of you, that person you don't like, or that feeling, or their subconscious, or the devil on your shoulder wants to quit, or the self-sabotage. You're looking in the eye and you're standing up and you're not going anywhere. Or you've got, 30 more minutes left and you're really not feeling it for no other reason, off from the chin up, that you're just not feeling it today. Then you get off. That's you getting looked in the eye and turning away.
Mm.
And I think we all have those, and over the course of where you just, for no reason at all, but you just quit. And I think like going into that psychology and that piece of it, why did I just mail it in? Why did I want to go for us and I stopped at 2 or 3? Why didn't I finish it? What made me quit? At the same time, what made me decide I can go another hour? I can go another hour. When you're battling it, what makes you? Is it where does the confidence come from? Is it a feeling? Is it nutrition? Is it a mindset? Is it, a fuck it, let's just get it done? What is it? Is it fear that makes you want to stop? Or is it lack of confidence? And I think the more we learn about that and learn through that with ourselves and what makes us stop, what makes us quit. Like I talked a lot about on my weekly check-in video to athletes today, is like, I gave, I'm not usually, I don't get on the athletes a lot. It's their own journey, but had a lot of athletes talk about making excuses this last week. And I said, well, we talk a lot about don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And so if you you're repeatedly making excuses, it's no longer an excuse, it's a habit. So now what's the solution to fix it? Figure it out. Is it going to bed earlier? Is it feeling better? Is it, better time management? Because stop making excuses and stop saying I learned my lesson when tomorrow you're going to repeat the same. And there are ways we can combat that if we take the time to figure it out. I think the same thing goes for why rides are skipped, why runs are skipped, why swims aren't done, why we cut things short. What is that telling us? I think a lot of times we don't work past that first layer, because it's in the scheme of life, it's inconsequential. It's a bike ride, a swim, and a run. Nobody gives a shit. Just like our races, right? No one cares. But when it comes to race day, I think sometimes we don't know, just like we always say, race day is no different than a training day. Your body doesn't wake up and automatically go into race mode because you set a day on the calendar where you expect to feel perfect. Yes, you can taper. Yes, you can, carb load and do whatever it is you want to do and rest more and give yourself a better shot. But ultimately, your body's going to wake up and do whatever the hell it wants to do. Yes, you can increase the likelihood, but still, it's your body. It's going to decide. And so it's no different than a training day, right? You're just as likely to have a great day as you are a shit day in all things. The same thing can go for the way you're going to wake up mentally. Are you going to wake up and have that like, all right, I've got it today. I am getting it done. then it's easy and good for you. But sometimes you're going to wake up with those, fuck, I don't really want to do this. Why don't you? Right? Or you're going to have these feelings of insecurity or negativity or self-doubt, and you're letting those creep in, and they can creep in, and you can look them in the eye, and you can stand up and be like, I'm not going anywhere. I got this today. Or you can choose to open the door and let him in and have him as company for the whole rest of the day. Like, I think, again, like they don't just show up on race day, they show up in training. And how we figure out and take the time to figure out, all right, how am I going to do my best? Like, I know for me, my best ride of this year was like a little over 4 hours. Did it 3 weeks ago. And I got on the bike not being really sure I was going to make it an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I just felt pretty, let's just keep going. Let's keep going. And I'm not even sure I know the reason why I decided to keep going. Versus the ride the week before where I was just like, yeah, I don't really want to do this today. Let's just wrap it up. And so I think like when if we can work through, and again, this isn't me telling you here's the way, but I think that when we look at, again, just how every athlete wants to pick apart their training, not this many long rides, not this many long runs. I don't think I'm where I am at this time last year. That's an athlete's favorite pastime. If I got free time, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to analyze what I think is data and compare myself to others or expectations or my past self. I got free time. What else am I going to do? But what we don't spend near enough time, or really any time, is looking back through the workouts we missed, the workouts we failed, the workouts we cut short, and ask ourselves, why did we do it that day? Because if you can make that, just like in training, right? You can wake up and you think, this run's going to suck. And what are you going to do? You're probably going to go out and have one of your best runs because that's how it works. Or you hop on the bike and you think, I am going to nail this interval workout. And 30 minutes into it, you're like, I can't do this anymore. My legs are fried. I quit. Same thing can happen to you on race day. And so the amount of time we spend on trying to analyze training and compare, like, go back and look, all right, why did I cut it short today? What did I lack? It's almost always from the chin up. You lack the desire. You lacked the intent. You lack the right perspective. And I think that's a huge invitation for failure, is the expectation. I did this to myself yesterday. 100%. I got out there, got my bike computer on, and I got it on watts, and I was like, all right, I can't do watts because it's warmer than I've been training in. It's 80 degrees. I need to go by heart rate. After about 30 minutes, I made a crucial session-ending mistake. And guess what I looked at?
Speed.
100%. Average miles per hour. And I saw 20.01. And my first thought was, let's see if it gets to 21. And so what I originally wanted it to be a 2-hour easy zone 2 ride, just steady, just getting back in air position, getting comfortable, went from control to let's see how much I can push to do this. And I ended up stopping an hour and a half because I got behind on my fueling, behind on my nutrition, because I was supposed to be doing just zone 2 easy stuff. And because I made that one click, and I did this like, all right, well, after my next lap, and we all play these games. Maybe not everybody, but I know I sure do. All right, after the next lap, if I haven't gone from 20 to 0.1, from 20 to 0.2, then I'll just go back to what I'm doing.
Yep.
You know, you same thing, right? We all do that shit. And like, of course, about 5 meters before I make the turn to start my next lap, 20.2, I'm like, fuck. All right, next time, if I'm not up by 2 laps, 20.3, I'm going to mail it in. Anyway, I did this all the way up to 20.5. I'm cruising around. I'm averaging like 22.4. I'm having a great old time. And the wind's picking up like it always does. But I knew I was making a mistake, but I got caught up in it. Anyway, all that to say is, again, it was the perfect lesson I needed Because as soon as I start going through this, going through these numbers and miles per hour, I'm doing like the immediate calculation. Listen, my athletes are going to love this. This is all the shit that I preach all the time to not do.
Mm-hmm.
And I preach it to not do it because I've done it, right? You and I have both done it. And we know the pitfalls. We know the consequences. Because as soon as I started averaging 20.1, I thought, all right, well, this watt in a Texas, I can do this. And I'm just computing, right? I got like, the Rain Man algorithms going on. And I'm like, if I can do this watts for this, I can do this. Immediately got way out of control with doing what I needed to do and reining it back, and ended up cutting it short there. Now I rallied and did a longer run and met the duration for the day. But again, like when you go through this, that's a easy mistake, and it's going to be a super easy temptation to have on race day, especially in Texas where it's flat, is to take just a quick gander at speed. Because no matter what I see, I'm either going to be overly energized and optimistic or disappointed. That's why I always say, like, don't even wear your watch during the swim. Don't let the first thing you do dictate your happiness, your eagerness, or your failure for the day. Because you're swimming too slow or you're swimming fast. I'm on track, right? I'm on track for my best day.
I can take a little more time in T1.
Exactly. I banked 10 minutes, baby. It's such a mind fuck. And so I know that, like, on race day, I cannot look. I've got to have some kind of, like, I wish on Garmin you could set, like, you have like parental controls, on like your remotes and your TVs and devices. I wish I could put like an athlete control on my Garmin. It's like, cannot look at speed till mile 90. And even if I want to look at it, it's like not available until I hit just so I can stick the course. Because even like on the lap, like I have my bike computer to go off after 5 miles, but easy math, baby. If it's 15 minutes, that's 20 miles an hour. So if it's slower than that, I'm going under 20, and if it's faster, I'm going over 20. So I even got to take that stuff off.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see like how, and then I go back to like the best paced race I've ever had, which was at Arizona Day. I went just by heart rate, and I did Arizona was it's 3 laps, and I went just by heart rate. I didn't even know what my time was, didn't know what speed was. My average pace for those 3 laps were 19.8, 19.7, 19.8. Perfectly paced, just looking at heart rate. I mean, you can't pace any better.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I was like, yesterday, I was like, you got to remember, like, you got to go by the stuff that doesn't get you attached. And maybe not attached is the right word, but it isn't going to cause a mood swing. Right? Isn't going to engage my ego. It isn't going to threaten my ego. It isn't going to make me feel too great. It's not going to make me feel too terrible. It's just going to keep almost moodless. Right? Which I think is also like something you have to kind of be willing to engage and embrace on these long races, is the ability to be moodless. Just, I'm not going to get too high, not going to get too low. It just is what it is until, whatever, the halfway point of the run. And then you can get in your feels, right? Because you're going to need it to make it through the last half. But it is, for all the time we spend on data collection and power curve analysis and what we can do here and what's TriCalc saying, this is what I did last time. We spend 0 time on the chin up game. And I just think it is that piece that that could really like unlock people's true potential and ability in these races, is just carving out more time to figure out, man, like, what can I do if I'm in a lethal position mentally to just nail this day? And ultimately, I've never met an athlete or had an athlete or heard an athlete say, dude, I PR'd today. I crushed it. Fitness, perfect. Execution, perfect. Mentally, though, I just wasn't there, man. I just didn't have it. I wanted to, no one ever says that. A lot of times they just fall short, and they'll just say and admit, like, I just didn't have it today. I just didn't want to go that extra level. I didn't want to push far. I didn't want to go longer. And you might not be able to have like the exact answer for it on that day, but if you go back And again, and you look at training, and you look at, comparing this ride to last September on the 15th, it was, 0.1 seconds faster. Triathletes love to do that shit. But when it comes back to looking like, why'd you miss this workout? You didn't want to do it. Why didn't you want to do it? I wouldn't feel it. What weren't you feeling? Like, these are all things you might wake up with on race day. And so I can't encourage you enough, to do that to yourself. I'm trying to do it. I mean, I talked openly about it today. Like, I'm trying to figure out those things to, again, it's not going to cure it. It's not going to guarantee your best mental day, but it can, again, just like tapering, it can minimize your chances to at least have that kind of day, or most importantly, look it in the eye and then look away and cave. It'll at least increase your likelihood. If it does come, you do have to look that Allen Iverson version of yourself in the eye on race day. You don't turn away, and you can get in right then is where you think I'm gonna. You might not know your time because you won't, right? But you're in it, and you're in the game. And just like you talk about being in the ballpark fitness wise. You watch the best professional athletes in the world, and you can see them have an off night. They say, I just didn't have it tonight. I just mentally wasn't there. I was checked out. Doesn't matter how good of an athlete you are, how natural you are. If it's not there up top, you don't got it. And so at least, right, be in the ballpark fitness-wise, and at least be in the ballpark in the game. Like, your head's in the game. And I just don't think it can be I just don't think having your head in the game, ready to game, can be overstated.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I think more times than not, our tired feeling is a mental sludge, to be honest. And I don't, necessarily know where that comes from. Lack of sleep, too much work on the computer, whatever it is. I think our body always has a lot more to give than we think. And I mean, if you go into that, like you're saying, man, it's like, those are the things that you kind of can work on a lot. That'll pay off in a race. I don't know. For me, I think about, this week, for example, and we can end here. I think we're probably at the end, huh?
Yeah, but, sure. Like it.
But some days I'm like, oh man, I just don't feel it today. Like, and the other day that was kind of the thing, and I just went out for a walk, and I was going to go walk, and I ended up walking like 5 miles, and I got done, and I was like, that didn't really do anything. I'm not like tired necessarily, but it didn't really, whatever. And then I decided to get on the bike for like 30 minutes and kind of hammer it. And it changed me. So like, I thought I was tired, but physically I wasn't, but something about the blood flow or whatever. I don't understand this stuff sometimes. I just try to play around with it. And I just kicked it into gear, and it changed the mindset. It changed how I felt about everything. And I kind of was alive then. So I just find that interesting, because some days it's like, I'm just tired, coach. I think that's in the mind a lot. You know what I mean? It's not like your body is worn out. I think that's an interesting thing to look at, because we can feel tired, but I think the body, I mean, like, we prove it, every time we race an Ironman, really. It's sort of like amazing. Or, some of these games go into double overtime, and then some kid's playing like the whole time, and he's tired in the second half, but then somehow he comes alive. It's that Magnus thing, that second wind. What is that? That can't be the body, because the body's just saying, all right, well, I'm trying to hold you back a little bit, but if you can break through, I got plenty more to give. It's sort of like we talk about how you can burn fat for days, and I think there's something in there, it's something that's clogged in the brain that's not allowing that to release. But that's why I like to work on that all the time, because I do think that's where it is most of the time. It's in your head.
Yeah. I mean, that resonates with me on a lot of levels, because I know for me, like, just looking back through, my best rides or runs of the last few years, my best rides have never, in runs or whatever workouts, have never come from going into it telling myself I was going to crush it. those have actually led to more workout failures because you get ahead of yourself and you let things take a ride, right? You're not acknowledging and being present and being patient with what it is. You're not letting things come around. And then my best rides have always been the ones like, I think the best ride, one of the best power outputs I've ever had in my entire life was that I think you were there for it. You came in one day and you were like, how much longer? I was like, I think I can go another 10. And I was putting out it was my best hour power I've ever had. It was like 270. This is during the pandemic. It was just you and I at the hub doing stuff. And the goal was 30. And then I got past 30. I was like, I think I can do 10 more. I hammered it out, raise higher. And I think I can do 10 more. I remember saying like, how much longer you got? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm just there. But I didn't, it was one of those days where I didn't get on the bike deciding that was going to happen. And it was a moment to moment thing. I think that's just a good example of moment to moment decisions are what ultimately dictate the success or failure of a race and the success or failure of a training session, not the premeditated conclusion that you want. Because then you go down a path of no decisions. You just go down the path of trying to hammer something out that you preconceived. And that oftentimes gets you, way, way, way off course. So yeah, I mean, listen, we could talk about this for hours. I think it's such an interesting topic that everyone can relate to, from professionals to amateurs to beginners. It is. It's we find, and that's why we love the sport, right? It provides so many obstacles and so many chances to suck, right? And to get better and to be terrible. But it also provides just endless opportunities of self-exploration, of figuring out like, what else is out there for me to figure out with myself? Not just, fitness-wise and physically, but what else is out there mentally for me to unlock? And I think that for most people, is a totally untouched corridor that they've never even gone down, but should be explored more. Hopefully we explored it with you and for you today. Hopefully pushed you that direction. It is the mind is endless opportunity. I think for us all to get better at a lot of things, right? Not just in training, but in life. That's how we handle adversity and how resilient we are and how we can overcome things. And it's all there. It's all there for to unlock, and look forward to trying and unlocking, honestly, some of the tips we talked about today to my own training practice. But that is it. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Before we say our goodbyes, good luck to everyone racing this weekend. Is the unofficial kickoff for the North American Ironman racing calendar, with Oceanside 70.3 on Saturday, Texas 70.3 on Sunday. Good luck to all. I think that's a live stream for Oceanside. Should be some good racing. I've got Taylor Nib for a more than dominant win by probably over 8 minutes. And then I'm going to go against what I would probably have said 2 months ago, and I think Sam Long is going to win. I've been super impressed with his, his lack of swimming ability, and then his ability to bike and run through the field. So I got the Americans taking it home, but good luck to everyone racing, no matter what you're doing. And as always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. There's a one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. And it is a new website, so check it out. It looks great. It feels great. We got our list of new coaches on there. It's got a new feel, so go there. Check it out. And again, it's all of our coaching, camps, and community. Got a lot of information on there. Again, with the new look, new people, new fun things to do. And as always, if you need anything from Mike, he is available. He is at mike@c26triathlon.com. Or if you need anything from me, I'm at Robbie at c26triathlon.com.
All right, buddy. I'll catch you.
All right, dude. See you later.